To wine country we go, and my own backyard. We go to Sonoma for the Toyota Save Mart 250. Let's do a little road racing this week, shall we? It's coming up right now on the Backroad.
It's a non-points race, but it is a short race. Checker flag. That's all this race
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Backroad. This is In Between Media's Fantasy NASCAR and NASCAR betting show. Got a good trio this week. Myself, Elliot Hicks, our guy Seth Woolcock, and Rod Villagomez, who introduced us. Going to be a fun one at Sonoma in your home country there, Rod.
I love it too. I told Cody earlier this week, I used to drive by that track all the time, and I never really paid attention because, I was a NASCAR fan, but when you drive by it and you kind of get desensitized to it, I never envisioned going because it's always so expensive, blah, 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 whatever. You make excuses, right? Went a couple of years ago. So beautiful. I'm so glad to be going back this year. I can't wait. That track, I don't even know how I didn't go to it for so many years.
Dude, I get it, man. I get it. I live right down the street from Beaver Stadium here in Penn State, so you kind of get used to it. You kind of take it for granted a little bit. But, boys, we're going to wine country. I'm excited. Road courses is where we've had a really favorable track record, and I think we can do it again here. It's going to be a little chalky, but it's going to be a fun time. No wine for the kid tonight, but we do got the new Busch Light Peach, guys, so I'm very excited about this. Better than the Busch Light Apple. Can't believe I'm saying it, but better than the Busch Light Apple. Elliot, how are you doing, our friend, as we head to what is one of my favorite, just elegant races on this circuit?
Yeah, Sonoma has always been to put together a pretty good race. As a Dale Jr. fan, growing up, the road courses were 2 weeks where I could sit back. No, my guy didn't have a chance in hell to win and just enjoy some of the racing. Now Bowman, he can run a little better at the road courses, but either way, going to be a fun week to bet. We're going to look into the Sonoma race a little more than usual in our forecast because it's right there in Rod's backyard. Home country wasn't the best way to say it. I had too many things floating around in my head, too many adjectives.
That works.
Yeah, in any case, before we look at that, though, let's take a look back at Worldwide Technology Raceway in the rear view. So this one, pretty boring race overall, seems to be the consensus from this crew. We saw Kyle Busch get his third win of the season at Worldwide Technology Raceway. We knew Kyle Busch was a good driver. We knew maybe the end at JGR didn't go quite as well. I don't know that any of us had 3 wins for him this early on our cards.
No way, man. I don't know about you, Rod, but I've been pleasantly surprised. I thought Busch would come out and have a great season. Same with Reddick, kind of swapping cars there, but I did not expect 3 wins, just before summertime hits.
I got to go back and listen to the tape. Now we have a week off coming up. We're going to go back and listen to some of our old futures takes because I can't remember what I had him at. I'm pretty sure I took the over on whatever his win total was, but I didn't think he was going to hit it before this break here in the summer.
Yeah, that is true. We do have an off week next week. We'll focus on this race a little bit first. We are still going to put out some content in case you were looking ahead to next week. Oh, there's an off week. I wonder if our Backroad boys are doing anything. We'll have a little something out there for you. But so, Seth, it looks like the card, I see a couple check marks here, but unfortunately I see a few more red X's over here.
Yeah, man. This race, just to bluntly put it out to folks, it sucked dick. This sucked. Luckily, I was getting home. I had it on record. I was about 2 hours behind, so I missed the whole lightning delay fiasco, thankfully. But could barely pass it all on this track. The racing wasn't very entertaining to us fans. And then just like this rotor issue. Talk about trying to handicap a race when you have people going left and right out of their brakes and some pretty scary hits. Like Noah Gragsson's not even racing this week because of it. So I did not like Gateway personally. We came out 1 unit shy of breaking even. Thankfully, our guy MTJ, man, he ran Blaney down on that last lap. Pumped about that. Blaney got us the matchup win over Reddick. But coming into last week, it was our smallest card on the season for myself. And I'm glad. I'm glad I played it that way. So tight to the vest last week. I'm getting a little loose again this week. Rod, how did you and Cody fare out there in Gateway?
Thankfully, I had my Army commitment last week, so I was unable to do any shows, which meant I was unable to lay in.
Smart.
Yeah, I just stayed completely away from this race, unfortunately. But look, overall, as far as entertainment value goes, this race, I just kind of meh through it. I sat there and I watched it, and I said, okay. I mean, there were some good spots, there were some good things that happened, but overall, I was just kind of like, well, good job, Kyle. Way to go, bud. Way to win.
Yeah, as disappointing as it is to miss a week, I'm sure, Rod, it was about the perfect week to miss for sure. And, the argument can be made, do we want to see this track on the 2024 schedule? The argument can be made that we don't have to, especially after, power failure to the broadcast compound.
Yeah.
Race. It's good to have a NASCAR presence in the St. Louis market. We get to hear our guy, Kenny Wallace, ramble on in the booth up there. He's always a good time, but the racing on track, just maybe not quite what we're looking for.
Kenny, absolute stud, icon. Love that. We need to get him in the booth. I don't know why the hell Waltrip was in the booth last week. Pissed me off to begin with going into that race. And then, honestly, there are a lot of retired tracks that I would rather see back. Can we get Chicagoland back? What about Kentucky? I would rather see those tracks than Gateway here in 2024. Maybe NASCAR listens. They have a good, they're usually pretty good at listening to the fans and the ratings. So let's see.
All right, well, enough about that crummy race there in St. Louis. Let's look ahead in the horizon forecast to Sonoma.
Hey, Michael, it was only 20% chance of rain. I think we got all 20.
So we are back making left and right turns at Sonoma this weekend. And perhaps the most fun part is, once again, remember this year, no stage cautions. You still get stage break, you still get the stage points at the designated laps, but we're not going to stop the race. We're not going to go under caution. I think that made COTA a little better of a race, and it should be the same here out in wine country.
Yeah, especially because COTA going into that one, you always have that crazy turn one where mayhem's going to happen. And we saw how many cautions down the stretch to end that one. Here, it's a little more graceful. I called it an elegant track earlier, and I really mean that. This is kind of the F1 track of NASCAR, if that makes sense. Rod, we're going to break it down more in depth, but in general, it feels like, especially without stage breaks, that someone who could get on the pole could possibly just run away with this thing.
And that's kind of the whole reason that we handicapped it the way we did too when we did it on the show. It's just basically you have the opportunity for somebody to jump up front and stay up there. However, as I got to thinking about it too throughout the week, I thought, I know that there's no stage breaks, there's no cautions for stages, but these guys are still racing for stage points. So, certainly. They got to make different calls at some point, right? If you're in the back of the pack, maybe you gamble. I don't know. Maybe in this track especially, there could be more strategy calls than there were in COTA, because COTA obviously is a completely different beast in and of itself. So yeah. I don't know. I feel like even though there's no stage breaks, they could still be stage racing, and we may get a little intrigue, or maybe that's just me being hopeful. I don't know.
Yeah, definitely the risk without the cautions. We were talking about Larson beforehand, wondering, is this just going to be a Larson beatdown? We'll have to wait and see. But Rod, so you'll be out there this weekend. This is in your home territory, I almost said home country again. And you're right in there in your backyard. Going to be a fun one. You'll be on site there. So give us a little bit of a more detailed breakdown of this windy racetrack.
So the first thing you'll notice is obviously the last couple of years that chute is now open. Before, the chute was actually between that 4A and 5 area where they kind of took it down and brought it around to actually add it's about a 2.5 mile track. Now it's 1.990. So it's already a shorter track, which means more laps are being run from the 90 to the 110. Obviously it means a little more in DFS because that's a few more laps to lead. But it also means that there's a few more laps for them to have to pay attention to strategy and fuel mileage. And, if there's no designated cautions, now they've got to figure out fuel mileage and tire wear and all that other good stuff. Another thing that you'll pay attention to right at the start finish line, it's about 16 feet worth of elevation. By the time you get to turn 4, that's 174 feet of elevation. They are driving straight up a hill in and around turn 4, pardon me, all the way to turn 7. By turn 7, they're down to 108 feet. Drop down to turn 8A, that's 33 feet. So this is a roller coaster of a track by all rights and accounts. There's the ups, there's the downs, there's the backs, there's the fourths, and these guys are going to be feeling it all the way around. Obviously, you get down to turn 10, back down to 14 feet, all the way into that slowest turn in pretty much all of NASCAR in their turn 11. That is where you separate the weak from the strong, if you were. There's going to be a lot of guys trying to gun it, hold the inside as long as they can to try to hug that turn tight, to accelerate into the straightaway back there into turn 12 and then straight into turn 1 again. So these guys are definitely going to be pushing it all the way around the track. Obviously, they've got to give a little more to get up that hill. And there's a lot of blind entries as you come around those turns into the hill. So a lot can come at you, and a lot can come at you fast if you're not paying attention. So definitely a very taxing track, albeit a very, gentle, calm to look at track. But there's a lot of pitfalls here. And if you don't pick the right line, especially heading into turn 3, you are definitely not going to be set up well for the rest of your run. So, yeah, these guys, they're going to have to deal with elevation. They're going to have to deal with a lot of that fast corner at 10 to try to gun it into 11. So, yeah, there'll definitely be a lot of skill needed to get around this Sonoma Raceway.
And Rod, coming into this weekend, we have a lot of drivers who are kind of coming back from some injuries. Alex Bowman with the back, Chase Elliott, of course, with the leg, and then Chase Briscoe with the hand. I kind of, while handicapping this race, faded those drivers a little bit just because it is a little more back and forth. It's going to be some more shifting, some tight corners. Did you feel the same way as well?
Well, and on top of that, these guys lean on these rumble strips a lot on this racetrack in general, right? So that's a lot of just vibrations that go through that car. And of course, we see it every single season. That dirt plays a big major function in this as well. They'll go off into the dirt just as much as they'll go off into the rumble strips. So, yeah, I mean, again, in that turn 11, that's a very tight turn. So that'll put a lot of torque on any injured part of your body, just to try to muscle through that. And I mean, again, it will be quite difficult for these guys to muscle through it. And I'm telling you right now, if I heard a pinky, turn 11 to me would be ridiculous. I'd be like, no, thank you.
Yeah.
I'll take my go-kart through this and we'll be fine. But yeah, it's going to play a factor. And I don't know, they're professional drivers. They can drive through a lot. So I don't know. I don't know. It's pain tolerance, I suppose, but it can't feel good.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. We'll talk more about how we feel about those specific drivers here a little bit later on. Elliot, I did want to talk a little bit about the data we're going to be looking at as well. And Rod, great breakdown. We appreciate the knowledge you have of this track. Here, I'm going to be looking at Sonoma 2022. Pulling a little bit from COTA. Obviously, it's a different track, but we can still get some road course numbers from it. And then all road courses since 2022, iFantasy Race put out the speed rankings from those tracks, so that will be useful data as well. And track history, man, this is one where it's a couple guys. It's really, it's Martin Truex who has a couple wins here. It's Kyle Larson who has a win and is great at qualifying. But I think that track history does mean something. And recent performance, these are not the same cars we saw. These are not the same drivers or the same teams that we saw here at COTA at the beginning of the season. So we have to factor that in as well. Elliot, anything else that you want to consider this weekend?
No, I mean, you hit the nail right on the head there, that the total speed ranking chart of all the road courses the last couple of years. I mean, that's the bread and butter this week. Obviously, you look at Sonoma last year because you were in the next-gen car. Most of the same guys were running it. I don't think there's any weird situations like with, looking at Gateway last week where Busher didn't run there because he was hurt or whatever. So you're looking at the road courses there. With track breakdown, you mentioned going uphill. Don't pull Marcus Ambrose and turn your engine off going uphill if it comes down to fuel mileage. We all remember that heartbreaker. That was probably about 10 years ago now from Ambrose there. But, yeah, I mean, road course is the way to go here. Oftentimes we see the same sort of guys at the front of the field. I expect nothing less as long as they qualify well.
All right. Well, why don't we get a little more specific, boys, here in some tire tiers?
Let's roll. Alrighty, you know them, you love them. It's the tire tiers breakdown. All the main 36 cars entered. Some driver changes this week. Of course, Chase Elliott is back in the number 9 car. Corey LaJoie thrown back to the number 7. Andy Lally, 2011, I believe, Rookie of the Year and Road Course Specialist, will be in the Rick Ware Racing 15 with backing from Camping World. Zane Smith is in the Front Row Motorsports 38. Todd Gilliland gets the 51. Josh Balicki's in the 78 car. And announced today, Noah Gragson is going to miss this race with concussion-like symptoms. Grant Enfinger, a Truck Series regular, will sub for him in that Legacy number 42. All righty. Rod, we'll roll with you with our first pick as usual.
I mean, listen, is there any other car but the 5 to put up there? It's honestly, this week, Kyle Larson is the chalk. Kyle Larson is the one that everybody's talking about. Kyle Larson is the car that everybody's going to have on their betting cards, in their DFS lineups, and it's for good reason, obviously. The dude is qualified up front 5 years in a row on this track, pole position each of the last 5 seasons. Now, granted, he only turned one of those into a win, but I mean, come on. Last season was a little bit difficult to swallow given his pit strategy and the tire fall off and all that stuff. So, but I mean, listen, you don't want to get too cute with it. Now, I get it that sometimes eating the chalk is hard, and you say, oh, well, anybody can make that call. Well, yeah, there's a reason for that, and that's because he's been so damn good on road courses his entire career. This is right in his own backyard. Elk Grove's not that far away from Sonoma, right? Got some family, got some friends. He loves this track. He loves being close to home. So, Kyle Larson, I honestly don't even want to throw out any stats to bog it down. Just you've heard him
with him, yeah. He's just been so dominant.
And over on Fantrax, you're getting a ridiculous discount on him still. They haven't put him up where he deserves, in my opinion. So I like that play a lot there over on Fantrax. He's going to be chalky as hell there as well, but I'll have him in some lineups there. Elliot, who do you have in the 2 spot?
This one's pretty simple for me too. I'm going to go in the direction of the 45 car with Tyler Reddick, class of the field at COTA, second overall in the total road course speed rankings the last couple of years. Sonoma was his worst road course race last year in the speed ranking. He was only 18th. I don't quite remember if he had any issues in that race or if he just wasn't quite as fast in that RCR number 8. But, 2311's on the up and up. Reddick has been a really good road course driver. He had a couple wins there last year. I think Reddick will be right up there contending with this 5 car for the win.
All right. I'm going to dip down here a little bit more. I'm actually fading Reddick a little bit this week after he made us some money at COTA earlier this season. So I'm going to dip down to the 9,900 range. I'm going to grab William Byron here, guys. This is a car who, like it or not, he has the number 1 pit crew. That's going to be a factor once again. I can't bet him worse shit, but we're going to try this week once again. And he's had a top 5 speed ranking in 9 of 15 races this season. That's what he's unloading with. I don't expect it to be any different this week. And he had the second fastest total speed ranking at COTA as well. So he's going to unload well. He's going to have a good race, in my opinion, unless he does something to shoot himself in the foot. And you're not seeing William Byron as the 4th or 5th ranked driver, maybe the rest of the season. So I'm going to take advantage of it while we have it. And I'm going to dip down. There are some lineups that I'm not going to be playing Larson in. And I'm going to have William Byron as my anchor here.
Yeah, hard to argue against any Hendrick cars really whatsoever. These guys are all going to probably unload fast, and it's all going to be I don't want to say it's going to be a Hendrick show, but between Larson and Elliot last year, it pretty much was. So, and so for that reason too, just go ahead and throw the 9 up there. I know, Seth, you said that you wanted to fade because of his injury, and I get that. And I mean, that could play out very well because we haven't necessarily seen him be the dominant force that he was before the injury. And I guess maybe you can even argue maybe before the injury too. He wasn't necessarily what we thought.
That car just looks like shit too. Like it just looks like it isn't qualifying well. Every week they're, whether it's LaJoie, Barry or Chase in it, they're just starting out back. So, I mean, in DFS, maybe that'll play to your advantage because you can get those differential points here. That's what I was hoping with LaJoie last weekend. Didn't come to fruition.
Well, and that's the thing too. If you get differential points out of somebody at the 10 grand area, you're living large because normally those guys in the 10 grand area are the ones starting out front. And you don't really get differential points out of that. So if you're right, if Elliot doesn't qualify well and he's in the 20s or 30s and he moves up to a top 5, maybe finish, then that's a hell of a DFS day for you, especially if he manages to find a way to lead a few laps with some strategy calls,
Yes.
I mean, fair play to, the number 9 car not being quite as good. We don't know if it's a Chase Elliott recovering from injury thing, Maybe the 9 has been more on the 48 level, and the 5 and 24 have been the dominant cars. Since we didn't do it in the Rearview, quick shout out to Carson Hocevar, ran really well in that number 7 car.
Yeah,
He was the first to have the brake rotors fail on him. That happened to a couple of guys. Thankfully, as far as I know, he's not injured, and none of the other drivers other than Gregson were having concussion-like symptoms. So that's a plus. And, LaJoy, glad he got the chance. The 9 car wasn't any good at Gateway. I don't think that was all him. But, his ego maybe helped a little bit by the fact that Hocevar ended up out of that race, because that 7 car was outrunning the 9 car. And you don't want your own car to beat you when you're in a better car. But anyway, I digress. Yeah, you know what? This might be a bit of a hot take, but I'll dip down a little bit here, throw him in Tier A because this is a good price for him. I'm going to throw Martin Truex Jr. up in the Tier A's.
Thank you.
Look, looking at the speed charts here, he's only 16th in the total speed ranking, but you got to keep in mind that 2022 was one of the worst seasons for Truex since he's even gone over to Toyota in that 78 car. He just didn't run all that well. He had a lot of unlucky stretches, wasn't able to win a race or anything. But, at 8,800, he's averaging good points. He's averaged good speed here. He's ran well here before. Maybe a bit risky to throw him in the A's, but I'm feeling confident on MTJ this week.
Do not feel bad for that call it out at all, Mr. Elliott. 3 wins for this guy, most among active drivers at Sonoma, most laps led at Sonoma among active drivers. So, yeah, that was my call all the way. And you're getting such a value at a guy who's been the best DFS fantasy NASCAR play all season long. So great call. Great shout out to you guys. I'm going to dip down again. I'm going to go to the 8,400s to another guy who's just been on fire lately. Give me some Ryan Blaney, that number 12, guys. I mean, I don't get how he comes. He was just ranked so high. The price was so high last week, and he had a top 6 average speed ranking here last season, finished 6th as well. Has been fast the last couple weeks. He came in 6th last week, let Truex pass him on that last lap. But this is the points leader in NASCAR right now, and I think we need to respect that a little bit. The only question mark is he ran terribly, so bad at COTA, like in the 30s all day long. So that's the risk you're taking. But at 8,400, at least, like I'd say probably 40% of my lineups this week are going to be taking that risk with Blaney.
Yeah, I mean, again, and I was listening to I can't remember exactly which one it was, talking about Fords being very good. I think it was Phil, actually, Full Take with Phil, talking about Fords being pretty good on this track, and that nice, they like the cold weather. So I think that was a good narrative on that one as well. All right, I'm gonna go dip down to my first B ranking. Give me the 16 car. I know that AJ Allmendinger, that's my guy. I just, as a road course racer in general, he's been solid all the way around. 6th in speed ranking in these road courses over the last few ones, according to iFantasy Race. What was it, 9.57? 3rd at COTA. He had no power steering in Sonoma last year. That was the race where he lost power steering. Oh no, that was Indy, where he didn't have power steering, but he still came in 12th in that race. He actually got in trouble in Sonoma. Got my AJ Allmendinger bad luck things mixed up. But over the last 3 road course races, 6th at Watkins Glen, 1st at the Roval, 3rd at the Charlotte Roval in 2023. So it's AJ Allmendinger. I mean, what more do you have to say when it comes to road courses? He's $9,300. He's a little less than the rest of the most expensive guys, but you're going to load up on the most expensive guys. You might as well take a step down with AJ Allmendinger in at least 1 or 2 of your lineups.
Yeah, I mean, if Kaulig had even the slightest bit of speed this season, he'd be arguably a Tier A. In fact, probably a no-doubter Tier A if Kaulig was running well. It's just been a tough slog for them. We've talked about it enough on this show. But, road courses like this, it's Allmendinger's bread and butter. And I think it's becoming this guy's bread and butter too, the 99 to Daniel Suarez. I mean, we know he won Sonoma last year. We know he ran well at COTA last season as well as this season. I was surprised to find him 3rd on this total speed ranking. I knew he was good at road courses, but oftentimes we leave him for, the Tier Cs, 20, 21st, 22nd driver off the board. He's arguably deserves a little bit better than that from how he's run. And this week he gets it. The 99 running up front is an expectation for me this week, honestly.
Man, it is tough to back the 99 with what we've seen so far this season, but you're 100% right, Elliot. And I think
it's the same argument as the 16. I think that Suarez maybe at this point could become more of a course ringer type of guy where, on some of the intermediate tracks, maybe he doesn't run so well, but on the road courses, he's a threat because we know these trackhouse cars are good.
Yeah, and Dinger honestly ran really well last week for a little while. He was in the top 10, so it was nice to see that. And Elliot, just because of what you said, I think Ross Chastain belongs in this tier 2 as well. Top 10 speed here all last year, finished 7th in this race and 4th at COTA as well. So I think that's something we need to keep in mind. This guy has been honestly a little bit of a road course ringer. 4th best total speed rankings on all road courses since 2022. Only sucked at the Roval. That's really kind of what drops him down. 2 top 10s in 3 races here, and one of those is with Chip Ganassi Racing as well, so worse equipment. Only hesitation with Ross is same thing with Suarez, but even worse, Ross has been terrible these last couple races. He's been a no-show, so I'm a little hesitant at that. You're paying up just a little bit at 9,700, but if I'm taking Suarez at 95, I'm going with Ross at 97. Watermelon King all day, baby. Back to you, Rod, here. Either some more Bs or we can drop to the Cs.
I just feel like Ross Chastain's been neutered. That's my only problem. He got stuck on the hand entirely too much, and I just don't feel like he's got it in him right now. He'll probably ride the rest of the season out and be fine, but yeah, for now, I'm fading Ross Chastain. But I will go with Christopher Bell at, 8,800, 8,600? Yeah. I'm looking at 8,600 for Christopher Bell. Look, according to Cody, I'm not allowed to talk about him because he left a bad taste in his mouth after getting the win there over Elliot. But listen, Christopher Bell, he's just this kind of unsung kind of guy. 8th at COTA last year. 21st at Sonoma, bad day, but that whole Sonoma race last year played out weird to me. You know, it's the whole back to the front thing. I don't really throw a whole lot of weight on that one, but 11th at Road America, 6th at Indy, 8th at Watkins Glen, 6th at the Roval, 14th this year at COTA. He's not bad. And for a tier B driver at 8,600, you know, I'm sure he'll be able to get you some pretty decent points. His 2 runs at Sonoma haven't been that great, 24th and 27th. But like I said, last year, I'll throw that out. And then, of course, the year before that in 2021, that was only the 92 lap race. So,
yes,
you know, we'll see what he can do again with 110 laps with this package and no stage breaks.
Yeah, not a bad pick there with the 20. This was a guy who I didn't expect to have this high on my rankings, but looking at the stats, I think he's worth it. And looking at his price here at 7,900, I think you're getting a good deal on Chris Buescher in the 17 car here in Tier B.
It's going to be chalky as hell, but it's probably good chalk. Probably good chalk, yeah.
It'll be chalky, but he's 8th in the total speed rankings on road courses. And last year at Sonoma, he was the fastest car in this total speed ranking throughout the race. You know, I thought the RFK Love Fest was last week. You know, it didn't work out so well for Keselowski having engine problems right away, putting him behind the 8 ball early. But I think the 17, you know, keep the RFK Love Fest going. I think it'll be a good run for him.
Yeah, Buescher owes me an apology. We laid down on him for the T10 last week. Didn't come through. Good run overall for him, though. I can't believe this is the first time that this driver has ever made it this far in the tiers all season when Rod's on. Give us the number 4, Kevin Harvick, baby. Don't forget here, boys. Kevin Harvick ran 4th at this track last season. He has a top 10 in over 50% of his races at Sonoma. And like, as we talked about earlier, like this is kind of a veteran track and there's no better veteran than Kevin Harvick. He's just kind of like, if he can get out of the mayhem, get a decent start, he probably won't. So he's going to have some differential points coming for you on DK most likely. But if he can get up in the top 10, I think he can stay up there. He just needs to stay out of trouble here is what I'm worried about. But overall, I will gladly take Kevin Harvick this week. Really good discount for him. So yeah, give me some Kevin Harvick.
Oh man, I did not get to pick Harvick. I'm heartbroken. All right, well, you know what? Give me Kyle Busch then. Throw up that 8 car. I have him in my
Tier B or Tier C.
That's a good question. Let's put him in Tier B. Let's put him in Tier B.
I'm
Tail
cool
end of Tier B. Yeah, I mean, look, overall, he's just he's not a road course guy per se, but he's always been kind of battling with his brother back in the day for like top 6, top 5 in that vicinity for these road courses. So you always found him around his brother for whatever reason. And of course, the year that I actually went in 2021, it was a battle between him and his brother up there in the top 5 for that spot. And in fact, he actually grabbed it from his brother. So yeah, I mean, look, it's not going to be all that glamorous for Kyle Busch, which is why I put him at the end of it. But you look back at his last few finishes here at Sonoma. He won in 2015, 7th place in 2016, 5th place in 2017, 5th place in 2018, 2nd in 2019, 5th place in 2021. And then, of course, last year was 30th, but that was a rough run for Kyle in that. And it was a rough season. So,
yeah, I remember last year at Sonoma, the Toyotas were just god awful across the board. I'd forgotten about that.
Junk. Yeah, total junk. But for Kyle Busch, too, he's coming in at a pretty decent price. As I was looking, I just had him. I can't flip around. Kyle Busch, 10,100. So he's a tier A driver. That's the only thing that kind of scares you away from it, which is why I put him at the tail end of tier B.
That's too high a price. I agree with you. Yeah. All right, so I'll crack open tier C here with a twofer, if that's all right. One of these guys, because they're rising and probably higher than we'll have them all year. And another one that's probably about the lowest we've had them all year. We'll start with Austin Cindric in the 2. You know, we talk every week. We put Cindric in the D's or the F's, and we're like, man, he's just not running well. He's not running up to the speed for Penske. But the road courses, another guy where maybe the road courses are his bread and butter. 7th in total speed ranking across the road courses the last couple of years. 9th at Sonoma last year. I think he'll have a good run. You know, he's right about, I think he's perfect in this range. I'm not expecting him to do better than maybe 8th or 9th unless he really has a fast hot rod. But he's a guy that's worth going for. The price may be a bit inflated here, which makes sense because of his road course pedigree. 9,100, only averaging about 16 DK points. That's how his season's been. But I've got hope. I haven't completely given up on Cindric yet. And I don't think we've had Denny Hamlin this low. You know, shout out to the Hamlin fans out there, but the road course is not quite his thing. We just talked about how the Toyotas were just god-awful at Sonoma last year. He's all the way down in 23rd in the total road course speed ranking. If you're looking for a bright spot, though, 11th is the fastest he's been on a road course in the speed ranking since the road courses last year. So maybe he runs around there. Maybe he has a decent hot rod there, but I'm just not so sure about Denny Hamlin this week.
Yeah, I'm not so sure about Hamlin either. I'd rather pay down for this next driver. A little bit of salary cap relief. It's going to be chalky once again. But give us some Michael McDowell, boys. Michael McDowell. I mean, this was one why total speed rankings, you need to get over to iFantasy Race and check him out. Because this guy on road courses since the beginning of 2022, 4th overall average speed. That is insane for Michael McDowell. And also, what he do here last year? Finished 3rd. So Michael McDowell's a little bit of a ringer too. People don't give him as much credit. So I thought he was going to be chalkier. Like, honestly, I thought one of you guys were going to talk him about by now. But you haven't. He'll probably have a little bit of differential points. I don't think he'll qualify top 10, but he will qualify pretty well for McDowell. So give me some Michael McDowell this week. Love the price tag. Rod, who else do you have here in this driver's seats here?
Give me Alex Bowman. Throw that 48 car. I mean, I know we talked about the other 3 Hendrick cars already being strong, and you see them all up in the top tier, but Bowman's flying under the radar. You talk about that speed ranking. He's 10th in average speed ranking on this list here with a solid 12 ranking. So, yeah, I think he's going to be sneaky good. I think a lot of people are going to be off him. He's $8,000. So he's not, I mean, the lowest priced, obviously, of the Hendrick drivers. And give me Alex Bowman at $8,000. I'll throw him in a lineup or two just to see. Maybe it gets funky and he finds himself inside the top 3 at the end of it, or the top 5. I think that's a good day for Alex Bowman.
Yeah, I mean, he's the guy I'm most worried about, just fresh off of the back injury. You know, He said he's put on the record there that it's going to be trouble for him for quite a while. All these tight turns and stuff. I mean, we know he's a tough cookie. He's raced through some of this stuff before. That's the only thing that might turn me off my guy this week in the Ally 48. But I think Tier C is a good place to put him. And I'll go with another guy kind of because he's lower than usual, but a guy that normally doesn't fall to Tier C, the 22 of Joey Logano. You know, again, another guy where road course is not necessarily his best. He's all the way down in 20th there in the total speed ranking. Looks like he was 3rd at Watkins Glen in the speed ranking, but otherwise, you know, a whole bunch of, you know, mid-teens to 20s, even 32nd at Road America. I know we're not going there this year, so I guess Logano's happy about that. His price at $8,300. I mean, you're not really getting Logano that low most of the rest of the year. Could be worth a shot just because of driver pedigree, but that's probably about it.
Okay, boys. I like it. I like where you're going with some proven veterans. Well, I'm going to get ballsy once again here in C tier. And I think it's justified. And it's the one guy who keeps throwing a damn wrench in our betting, in our DFS lineups every single week because we don't know how to handicap this guy. We'll throw him on the board, Mr. Zane Smith in the 38 car this week. Top 10 last time out in this 38 car. That cannot be stated enough. He is driving his ass off. He belongs in the Cup Series, and we're seeing that right in front of our very eyes. However, he's only raced here one time in the Truck Series. You guys want to guess what place he finished?
Did he win that race?
second to Kyle Busch, but
Okay,
close.
that's right. Okay.
But
So
close.
first, in terms of the mortal human drivers. on the field.
Yeah, and like when you come back to it, like you're gonna need a dart throw this week, and everyone under 6K is pretty much junk, and almost anyone I feel like around the 6,500, 7,000 range, junk. But now we're seeing a guy in Zane Smith pay 5,700 for him. He's averaging over 27 DraftKings points per contest this season in that car. So yeah, I hate it for our guy Todd G. But throw me some Zane Smith this week. He's the bare minimum on Fantrax as well. So give me some Todd Gilliland. How do you boys feel about it?
Yeah, I mean, you don't want Gilliland quite ranked this high, even though Rick Ware has been better, right? You're feeling Zane still.
No, no,
Gotcha.
Gilliland, no Gilliland.
Not quite yet. Maybe in the D or the F, you'll get to him.
Also, I think we should throw Brad Keselowski up in this tier as well. He
That's
finished 10th here last season. He's like the band of misfit toys, man. Like this guy can never fit into where he should finish. He always is having a good run going, and then he ends up fucking last somehow or out of the race. But he's going to have speed. We know that. So we already like Buescher. So I think Brad deserves a little bit of love here. Back to you after talking up some Fords here, Rod.
Yeah, let's go with the 54. We haven't brought up Ty Gibbs, but he was the road course guy in the Xfinity, right? So
you want him in the tail end of C or down here in the D's?
I feel like tier C is like ridiculously long, but go put him up there. I don't think he's a D.
That's all right. I mean, the law averages C is going to be your biggest tier, so no, I got no problem with that.
Yeah, I mean, look, he did do well at COTA. He was the 13th. He was the 13th fastest car on the track at that. So, yeah, I mean, look, we don't have a large sample size, obviously, for him as far as Cup Series road races, but in Xfinity, he was legendary over there in that series. And so at some point he'll get it locked in. If this race comes down to where there's not a lot of cautions, maybe, because I was talking about too in the DFS show, there's not gonna be a lot of passing up front. Like this will not be a large, but the back, 15th on down, it's gonna probably have a lot of movement in it. So I think that's where he could probably make his moves if he starts toward the back.
Yeah, it's not a bad shot there with the 54. It looks like now in the C minuses, D pluses, we're down here in the mid 20s in this total speed ranking chart. Logano, who we threw up there, is 20th. Ty Gibbs 22nd. Denny Hamlin 23rd. 21st is the guy I'll put here, and it's Justin Haley in the 31.
Thank you. Yep.
Haley has been better than we thought at road courses. He's had a little bit of that pedigree from Xfinity. Couple of decent numbers in here. Second in total speed ranking at the Roval. We know that Colleague really comes to play with the road courses with Allmendinger. I think at the very worst, Haley gets at least a trickle-down effect of that positive vibes around the 16 car and ends up with a better finish than we normally see those Colleague boys.
Hey, man, finished 12th here last season, and he had no speed. So it tells you something. Yeah. He knows how to drive these cars. 100% with you. I think we need to throw Bubba Wallace in this tier. I'm worried it's a DNF again, so I think I will not be playing him this week. But he
just doesn't run well on road courses. I'm perfectly fine with him as a D this week.
And when he does, he gets all wily. It's the same thing when he gets in front of super speedways. It's like, hold on to your fucking britches because we don't know what's about to go down. But he is 7,200. And in that tier, I'm okay with paying down for Haley. But I'd rather play him than some of the guys he's around. So I'm okay with Bubba there. Rod, who else do you think for this driver tier D range? Because there is not much out there. Like we really hit another tier here. We could almost start the Fs if we really needed to.
Well, let's put the 10 car at the tail end of that D range, only because there is the potential for him to actually turn in a halfway decent DFS day. Last year, he finished 14th after starting 21st on this race. So there's potential there for some DFS okayness from him. So I'm not saying I'm going to see it, but it's worth at least a D, not necessarily an F.
He's pulling double duty this week as well. He'll be in the truck race on prior to this race. So yeah. So
really?
I was surprised to see that as well. Yeah. Yep.
There's like 8 to 10 drivers from the Cup Series that are making Xfinity starts this weekend. So that whole Xfinity card is jacked up as it is.
Yeah, that will be really fun to see Xfinity at Sonoma though too. We don't get to see that very often.
And ever. This is the first time.
What's you guys' argument about putting the other two SHR boys here in the detail? First time ever. Yeah. Okay. What do we think about the SHR boys in D here? Do we have any objections here? 14 and 41. They're not going to run spectacular. They're in the, late teens in the speed ranking. We know SHR has been really crappy this year, but I think these guys will run on par with Almirola.
Well, Briscoe finished 13th last year to Almirola's 14th. So yeah.
Yeah.
Ricky Stenhouse Jr., throw him up in this tier too, Elliot. I think he belongs there. This is a guy terrible at road courses. Like I can't best finish here is 18th. However, he was a top 10 car at Coda for the first time in his career earlier this season. He's had speed almost everywhere we've gone. It's just, can he get the finishes? So you're getting him for pretty much the price you're paying for Zane Smith. So if you don't want to pay for Zane, go ahead for him. What about Ty Dillon? I don't think he's a D, but I think he belongs in the F tier. He's going to be double duty this weekend as well. Finished 23rd here last year, obviously in some better equipment in that 42 car. But I kind of like Ty Dillon. This is kind of his style of track, stay out of trouble, stick to the game plan type of shit here for Dillon. So I don't mind throwing him out there. The DK price, it's $5,000 is what you're paying. So I don't say that a lot, but I think you could do worse than Ty Dillon. I got no thoughts on the rest of these guys, though.
Rod, anyone else you want to throw up in the Fs?
No, I mean, nobody down there. Yeah, you'll have to make your case now for the best of the worst of the worst. So this is all you now. One sentence for each, right?
JJ Yaley, throw him on there.
JJ Yaley is not racing this week.
Oh, you're right.
Where cars? I was going to put the 15 up there, though. Andy Lally's the only guy I'm going to make the argument for in the Fs. He's got the nice blue Camping World number 15, a guy who's a road course bread and butter. I don't know if you guys remember how well he did in the booth in some of these races. I thought he brought some really good insight. Clearly, he knows what he's doing. And we've talked about Ware not being quite as awful as normal. Maybe we see a top 15 for the 15 car. But in terms of these other guys, Austin Dillon, if RCR was, he's already doing bad enough on tracks he's supposed to run well at. And he's not a road course guy. Corey LaJoie, I honestly think his ego might be a little beat up after that run in the 9.
Yeah.
He's 33rd out of 34 eligible drivers on the speed ranking. I don't see any upside here for him, which it's been really rare to say, but I don't think LaJoie is worth putting up there. Harrison Burton, there's not the road course numbers for him. I know he's a fun, trendy F-tier pick for us, but I just don't think it's there. Grant Enfinger in the 42, I have no idea what this guy can do in a cup car. I don't know that he's ever been in a cup car. He's a decent truck guy, but Legacy's been so bad we didn't put Eric Jones up there, and he's got a speed ranking at 26th.
I think Eric Jones belongs in the F tier. He has 2 top 10s here in 5 races. He was, so a little bit of love for Jones, but these are cars that could come up and blow up in the first couple of laps. We don't know.
Yeah, the 51, Todd Gilliland, if he was in the 38, he'd be up here. He's in the 51. I'm not too confident. And good old Josh Bilicki in the 78. BJ McLeod has got a guy who's good at road courses, and that's about all you can say about Josh Bilicki. So there we go. We are the show that talks about every driver in the field, and we stick to it even when there's 8 guys we don't even want to put on the board. So you're welcome for the Andy Lally top 15 that'll cash you in and get you some extra DFS points as the week rolls on.
For the record, I will go and say Grant Enfinger, 2011, tried to qualify for Homestead, did not qualify. That was his only attempt at a Cup Series race. Has not taken a start yet. Not taking a green flag.
Let's go, Grant. Let's go, baby.
Good for him. Cup debut. He's been hanging around for a while, back in the ARCA series in those days in the trucks.
Yes.
Good for him for being picked here. He's in a shit box that's not going to run well. Try again later, Grant. Try and get it right on the oval. Where are they at? Or next week's an off week, so Gregson has an extra week to recover. So we'll see what happens with the 42. Best wishes, of course, to Gregson. We never want to see these guys out with concussions. It's great that NASCAR is making an effort to fix these cars up. We saw today they released a few changes based on the crash with the 5 and I think the 41 at Talladega. They ran full crash tests. There's video of that on NASCAR Twitter if you haven't seen it. That it's a really cool insight to the process that it's not where they want to be with the next gen in terms of driver injuries and things crumpling how they should be, but they're working on it. They're not ignoring the problems. So that's about all we can ask for.
Yeah, let's do it, boys. I like it. I like the tiers this week. We'll put out an article tomorrow on the website as well. You can get some more insight on those. But what do you say, Rod? Should we take this thing to the parking garage?
Let's take it to the parking garage. Let's park this thing, shall we?
Let's do it.
Alrighty, so we've been optimistic about the books this week, right, Seth?
Yeah, these are the types of books that I like, but they were so expansive that I've been spending the last couple of days just trying to go through them, and because there are a lot of offerings, and there are so many good offerings. Like you're seeing guys for top 10s at plus money that we haven't seen at plus money for top 10s in months. So it's really fun. I think if you guys enjoy watching NASCAR and you're new to the gambling space, now's the week to do it. Like, now's a week to have a lot of fun with it. It could be a little chalky in the outrights, which we'll talk about, but overall, love the books this week. Rod, any thoughts on how the sports books came to play?
I'm glad that they picked it up as the week progressed. Earlier in the week, when they started dropping him, it was a little bit sparse, and I was wondering if there was going to be anything good. But got to hand it to them. They definitely picked it up over the course of the week, and I really was encouraged to see a lot of the numbers that we saw. I'm ready to bet some. I mean, the outright's a little bit tough to want to bet them, but we found some places that we liked. A lot of good matchups that I think we can hit, and definitely some placement props that I definitely like.
Absolutely. Elliot, where do you want to start? You want to start outrights or qualifying?
Well, I've got one outright, so if we want to do qualifying, you can go ahead. But another point, the numbers are great here, and this is a race. Road courses, you don't quite get the same level of super speedway chaos.
Yes.
You do get some chaos here too, so this is not a bad week to shoot your shots. But all right, if you guys got some qualifying bets, makes sense to start there first.
Rod, nothing for you, Rod?
The only one that makes sense is Kyle Larson at plus.
Larson pole makes sense, yeah. 5
straight poles at this track for him. Is there any other way you want to go? I mean, honestly.
What's the number on him at the pole
plus
again?
250. Plus 250.
Yeah, I mean, pole. That's as much of a slam dunk as it gets, honestly. As long as, I'm not expecting rain in Sonoma to wash out qualifying. So
it'll be cold. It'll be 70 something. There'll be some clouds, but
that is cold for Cali, isn't it? Huh?
I know. I'm gonna have to wear a long.
So, boys, this is how I approach qualifying this week. And road courses are the one style track I try to bet on qualifying. Normally not as much on the ovals, but I did go half a unit on that Larson plus 250 here. These are between him and William Byron. These are the drivers that lead the Cup Series in active road course polls. They each have 4. Byron most recently at Coda that we saw earlier this season, and Larson, they're all right here in Sonoma, baby. So the qualifying records kind of speak for themselves, but I think William Byron at plus 900 is a little bit of a value. I think that's left hanging out there compared to what you're getting on Reddick or Chase or Larson here. And Byron's tied with Larson for 2 this season. And he won the qualifying at Coda as well. So I think William Byron's worth a little bit of a hedge with Larson as well.
Yeah, it's not too bad here. All right, let's steer into the outright market now. There was one that I saw that I think on Caesars was bumped up with an odds boost, but I like the number either way, and I found it better on Barstool. That's a Daniel Suarez outright at plus 1,700, plus 1,800 on Barstool. A couple other bets I like for him too, but hey, why not have him go back-to-back at Sonoma? At those numbers, I mean, that ain't bad in my opinion.
Yeah. I mean, he had the speed last season here. I think what you worry about with Suarez is can he qualify himself high enough to get up there? He hasn't been great at qualifying. Average start is down, very in the mid-teens this season so far. So that's what I worry about with Suarez. But he has the track record here at Elliot, so I can't go against it.
My only concern is that there's just not going to be enough of the shakeups that we saw last season that could put anybody else into a winning position, which is why, I mean, you keep an eye on Kyle Larson. He's already dropped now, plus 475 on Barstool as an outright. He's still 500 on Caesars. So, what we said on the show, on our betting show, you pick either Larson, Elliot, or Reddick. Those are the 3 that if you just pick one that you like and go after that. If you feel like you still need to put action on the other 2, top 5s, top 3s, even top 10s if you really want. But you got to just pick the one that you like the best and ride it. And for me, I mean, that's Kyle Larson. Obviously, there's something about Kyle Larson on this track. It's magic. And yeah, like I said, he only got that 1 win, but last season he was well on his way to another one. And I just think that he's due. I think it's been a while for him and he's due. So the only person that I was really targeting with an outright at all is Kyle Larson. I think we should make our money on the other parts of it, because if this happens to be a Kyle Larson day and you didn't have Kyle Larson, you're going to be pissed you didn't have Kyle Larson. So matchups, head-to-heads, placements, I think that's where you're going to make your money this week.
And I think with Larson this week too, you have to keep in mind, like, the issue with betting him, and we've been on him 3 times this season, or 4 times this season. He's won 3 of those times. We didn't get so lucky on the dirt track. However, he could get wrecked out of this thing. And that's kind of what happened last year. He got in a little bit of trouble, but it was more pit strategy. The pit strategy last season was off, and then he had a loose tire, and he did get himself back in the top 10, but ended up not being able to T10 it. I think he finished 15th. So I'm with you. The only thing that gives me a little bit of pause, and I think it was because of those issues, Rod, is his late run speed was not great last year at this track, or was it not great at COTA as well? So I totally understand the play. I have half a unit down on the outright as well. Also plus 145 for a top 3 over on Barstool as well. I like that even better. So don't mind that, guys. I'm going to go with William Byron here, 10-1. Already kind of discussed it. This guy, second fastest total speed ranking at COTA, fastest car to date this season on all tracks. And he's had a top 5 speed ranking in 9 of 15 races. He was not nearly that good of a car last year. Like, he didn't have that much speed, but he did finish 9th, though. So it gives me kind of some hope that Byron could pull something out here. And what I think we have to continue to remember when we bet William Byron here on out, you're not just betting on the driver. You're betting on that car, and you're betting on that crew as well. And that's something I want a part of here. Give me a little bit of rocket ships here on William Byron, 10-1. You can also get a top 10 for him that I'm going to hedge with, minus 182 on Barstool. I haven't seen a number like that for William Byron. It's, it's juice, but I laid it. So that's where I'm going this week.
One thing to keep in mind too, if qualifying plays out like we think it will, Larson wins the pole, these other guys qualify up front. We don't see quite as good of a run for, a guy like Suarez, some of these other long shots in qualifying. Maybe Allmendinger doesn't qualify well. That will change it may change some of the odds, and that will change the way that I think we will think about this race Sunday morning when we wake up. If Larson has something happen in qualifying and he starts 25th, maybe we think a little differently. I mean, if there's one guy that can bulldoze his way through the field, it's Larson. We saw that at the All-Star race at Wilkesboro. But it also increases your chances of some other moron doing something dumb and wrecking the best car out of the race. So, again, we really think that this is the way it's going to go. Just keep your eye out, after qualifying is done. Maybe some of us will throw out a tweet or two to be like, holy shit, this is not the way we expected it to go at all. Here's some adjustments that we can make. But we'll operate under the assumption that we truly do know exactly how this is going to happen, because that's what all the stats, all the odds are telling us.
Yeah. Rod, what's the weather going to be like out there this weekend? Any chance of rain during qualifying or practice?
Nope. It's going to be bright and sunny on Saturday, and then just some clouds on Sunday. But no rain. It's been cloudy over here in Northern California for the better part of the week, but no rain in the forecast for Sonoma. We'll just have some nice overcast. Won't be too hot in the car. Track temperature won't be too boiling. So nice. These guys should have a nice, comfortable drive through wine country.
I love it. Rod, let's go ahead. Let's move to the placement props. Anything you're looking out here? Again, some favorable odds this week compared to what we're used to.
Even more favorable given a Caesar's boost that I found for you guys. Kyle Busch, top 5 finish, and Kevin Harvick, top 10 finish put together, 4-1. You get plus 400 for Kyle Busch, top 5, and a Kevin Harvick, top 10. You already talked about Kevin Harvick being top 10 material, and even on this track, man, this guy has been electric. 2021, he started 8th but finished 22nd. Outside of that, go back to 2015. 4th place finish, 6th place in 2016, won it in 2017, 2nd in 2018, 6th in 2019, 4th in 2022. None of those numbers I read were outside of the top 10. So you're safe there. He's done it more than he hasn't over the last few years. Kyle Busch, I read you his earlier since 2015. 1st, he won this race. 7th, not a top 5, but pretty close. Then 5th, 2nd, 5th, 30th. So again, outside of that, Kyle Busch consistently a top 5 car on Sonoma. Granted, that was the 18 car, but he's still on fire. 3 wins this season has not slowed this Kyle Busch down. So at 4-1 to get both of these guys in that position, please, sir, give me that.
I like that a lot.
I like it, man. Elliot, anything for you here in the placement props, brother?
I'll rattle off a couple that I have. Allmendinger, top 5 plus 235. I mean, top 5 bets are much tougher than top 10s, but they give you a little bit better boost. I don't know the Kaulig has the speed to win, but we know Allmendinger can run top 5, so I don't hate that. Just a couple quick top 10s I'll rattle off. Bowman plus 100. I still don't know how Bowman top 10 is plus money. That's still kind of ridiculous. McDowell top 10 plus 110. Briscoe top 10 plus 140. And our boy Andy Lally in the 15 car plus top 10, 1,800 if you want to take a real deep shot and hope for chaos.
Yeah, that's chaos for sure. I have a couple, but I'm going to go with the one that we haven't talked about enough. I'm going to spotlight a guy, and I can't believe I'm saying this, but I went back through the data recently and I was running it. The driver who's won me the most money in 2023 is none other than Martin Truex Jr. This guy
Don't tell
is
that to yourself before the clash in February. So.
Yeah, I was fading it. I mean, and it's crazy because I'm on the under for a season win total as well. So it's been such a crazy season for this guy, but he is relentless. And the last 6 weeks have been awesome for this guy. Since winning Richmond, 8th at Kansas, led 79 laps there, 31st at Darlington, but he pulled that son of a bitch and got 145 laps, led as well, 3rd at Charlotte, 5th at Gateway, never gave up last week, even though his pit crew sucks ass. And he's coming in here as Sonoma, most among actives in wins, laps led, a 30% top 5 rate. I don't even need him to get in the top 5. I need him to get a top 10. I do have a sprinkle on the outright, 28-1. Couldn't help myself too. But he also owns the best race lap here as well. When they're going green, MTJ is going to be fast. He was terrible here last season. I can't that is the one thing you're fighting. But he started 28th and slowly started to work his way up. By the end of the day, he had top 12 speed ranking. So I'm going to keep rolling with him. He's got a pull this season as well. So I think he can start somewhere towards the top 10. Give me some MTJ. Finally back in the plus money, 120 at Caesars here, top 10.
Yeah, he's actually been he's a different guy this year. He really is. And that's, you've seen whatever the weight of his personal life was last season. Now that it's gone,
that shit matters.
It does.
Yeah, I hadn't thought of that at all until you just mentioned it.
Tom Brady, like we've seen it, like it sucks. Yeah. And it's a reality of this, of sports and competition in general. His mind's in the game right now, and to get him at these odds are absolutely insane. So let's just keep letting the good times roll, boys. Let's just keep letting them roll. Elliot, back to you. Let's move to some of the head-to-heads, group specials, anything else you're seeing out there that maybe we should get down on.
Yeah, so I did throw a few groups and matchups in my sheet here. Looking at them a little closely, and especially looking at the time we have left, I'm sure you guys probably have better things than I have. I will bring up 2 specials, though. A couple odds boosts from Caesars. Blaney is the top Ford, plus 650. I think that's not bad. There were a couple other top Chevy numbers, but the more I look at him, it's going to be Larson or Byron as the top Chevy. There's really not much of a point in betting anyone else there. So relating to those Hendrick guys, we mentioned about lots of Cup drivers in Xfinity. Larson winning the Xfinity race and Chase Elliott winning in the Cup Series is plus 2,500.
I can't get beat. Against the injury thing for me. It's the injury thing, but I totally that's a tempting one they throw out that I might want to take a whack at.
Yeah,
so
that's part of why I'm skipping over some of these other group bets and stuff, is because of that. You make every week when it's I think it's maybe a good number. The guys who have bet a lot more than me don't really think so. So those are the ones that interest me to the point where I may throw a little coin on them.
Okay. Rod, what about you, man? What are you seeing out there that we should be considering?
So Caesars, and I gave this one out on the NASCAR Gambling Podcast, Caesars has the winner of stage 2 to win the race.
Yes.
225.
Yes.
I wanted to throw out, look, and now that's actually dropped. The winner of stage 1 is at 275. It used to be at plus 300. Now it's a plus 275. There's just too much in between stage 1 and the end of the race for me. Even if it's Larson, I would much rather get burned by that than not take the stage 2, because stage 2, that's when you're going to see I think everybody lock in, and that's when it's going to be the winner. Whoever wins stage 2, doesn't matter what happens in between there, they're going to end up winning the race because the strategy shortens up at that point. So at plus 225, I like the winner of stage 2 to win the race.
Man, I saw that today, and I almost got on with to win stage 1 and 2, but I thought the same thing. I said, man, that's a lot of laps to go because that first stage ends at lap 25. But here at the end of stage 2, I'm already down on that as well, Rod. So you guys have been great at pointing out some bets I'm already on. I'm going to go back to the well once again this week. Blaney won our matchup last week when he targeted him. We're going to go Ryan Blaney minus 118 versus teammate Joey Logano. We discussed it a little bit earlier. Ryan Blaney, top 6 speed here last year, finished 6th, and last week finished 6th as well. He's leading the points right now. Joey Logano, though, actually a little bit of a fraud this season. I didn't realize it, but 17th in total speed rankings on the entire year on every track this season for Logano. 17th in speed ranking last year at Sonoma. And Ellie, do you want to guess what place he finished at Sonoma?
Probably P17.
Yes, sir. P17 for him. Ryan Blaney has a 66% top 10 rate here. Joey Logano, 38%. So I think you're getting good value on Ryan Blaney. So I'm not going to take him to be the top forward. However, I am a little bit tempted by that now that you said there was a boost on that, Elliot. But I like that. And what I just want to talk out with you guys before I lay it down, and I'm really curious because I would love to hear what the chat thinks as well. But Group F right now, I think this is on, I'd have to double check. I think it's on Caesars, but I have to double check. Ricky Stenhouse, Harrison Burton, Noah Gragson, who's not racing. He is scratched.
Yeah. So that group bet honestly might go in the toilet just because of that, but we can talk about it a little bit. But I saw that same group and I was like, I don't know.
Will they get rid of that, Rod, if I bet it now?
Yeah, they'd void it if they pull it, they can, unless they replace it with Grant Enfinger. Which
it'd be different odds with Enfinger, so I think that one is probably just going to get scrapped.
Okay, thank you.
Out of that group,
good job talking it up.
I tell you, out of that group, yes, I would take Ricky Stenhouse 100 times out of 100. So whatever that group ends up being, if they replace Enfinger with Gragson, I don't care what the odds are. Take Stenhouse.
I was see, and that's where I was going back and forth between Stenhouse and Zane Smith, but I basically saw it as a matchup at that point, and the winners at plus 240 either way. But I like both of those guys. So just something to keep your eye on. I just thought maybe it was a little bit of a mispricing. But, boys, this is going to be a fun one. This is – I cannot wait for this. Elliot, thoughts on that bet or anything else here we haven't touched on tonight?
Yeah, just one more thought with that group. Zane Smith, I like him. I think he's going to run well in the Cup Series. We've been talking up that top 10 from the Coke 600. That really only happened because of pit strategy. He wasn't necessarily a top 10 car all day. So it's something to keep in mind there. We love Zane, but – proceed with caution. Once a week, I give a guy, proceed with caution guy. We can call that guy Zane Smith this week.
Okay. I mean, hey, dude, you were right.
DFS, not necessarily for betting too heavy on him.
I like it. Rod, tell us where we can find you, man, how we can best support you when you're not here on the back road.
Absolutely. Yeah. Find me on the NASCAR Gambling Podcast with my boy Cody Zeeb. We have episodes out every single day between Xfinity, trucks. We got a bonus bet episode coming out this week. So, no trucks. Yeah. Just follow me there. And of course, here every other Thursday, where we lay it down.
Elliot, what do you have coming up, man? Give him a little taste of what IBT's up to.
Yeah, I mean, we're rolling strong with the Backroad here. We still got the In Between Fantasy Football podcast rolling strong. Like I said, we're going to put out some sort of content for you next week. We're still kind of working that out. But even though the series is off, we will still give you a little something to, wet your whistle, whether it comes out at the normal time on Thursday or not. Still working that out. But in any case, it's going to be a fun one here at Sonoma. Seth, you got any final words before we take us home?
No, absolutely not. Other than check out the website, inbetweenmedia.com. Between our golf content, the NASCAR content, we have a shit ton of good stuff coming out there helping you win money. One of our guys hit on Victor Hovland last week. So money's flowing over at IBT. Come join us. Subscribe to the channel if you aren't already. We appreciate the IBT family, guys. It's been a great ride, a very profitable ride this season, and I can't wait to keep helping people win money and having fun along the way, guys. Elliot, take us home.
Yeah, no doubt about it. How could I forget about the 19th hole, which immediately precedes the Fantasy Football Podcast on Tuesday nights? But anyway, thanks for tuning into this podcast, The Backroad. Thanks for rolling down with us. Best of luck in Sonoma, and we'll talk to you again sometime next week.